Hello and welcome to another edition of Graham Hughes' PUBCAST, and today I'm joined by Ben Chambers of the 16 Million Rising.
You got it right. You got it right this time.
I did get it
16
right.
million rising.
16 million
Important
rising.
number, that.
It is, because that's the number of people who voted to remain in the EU.
Yeah, and it's also the number of people who didn't vote Tory at the last election. Yeah. Well done, you.
Good on you. Good on you people who didn't vote Tory. Anyway, so in this edition we would like to talk about Labour.
Right.
And not
okay.
the process of giving birth.
I was about to say that because we've all been there.
We've been there. So basically, Labour has driven itself off a cliff. It did have a majority in the House of Commons in the
That was
1997
Yeah.
to 2010.
That was when He Who Shall Not Be Mentioned
It then
was leading it.
lost that majority in the 2010 election because it had the most uncharismatic leader possible, imaginable, Mr. Gordon Brown, a guy who you just looked at him and thought, oh, I'm sorry, he just wants to give him a hug.
We all remember Bigot Gate, don't we?
He was completely right. That woman was a bigot.
Well, that's true, but yeah.
But he wasn't...
A rare moment of
He
honesty.
wanted to be Prime Minister. He wanted to do a job that he couldn't do.
He had a pact, though, didn't he, with Tony,
Did have a
that he
pact
was
with
going to
Tony
get a go
Blair,
at the end. You
yeah.
can have 5 minutes
Yeah.
at the end, all right, okay, you can have a go. And bless him, he had to be taught to smile, which I thought was lovely.
Anyway, so then in 2015, Labour lost again
Yeah.
to David Cameron, smug Condom headman, who is...
Or I
obviously
prefer to think Iggle
related-
Piggle from In the Night Garden, but you can call him Condom Head Man if you like.
Or Data's evil brother from
Yes,
from Star Trek, The Next Generation. Yeah, but then they lost that, not by that much, by the way.
No, they didn't, no.
But they lost it still. And then in 2017, they had a new leader called Jeremy Corbyn, who, according to everyone who liked Jeremy Corbyn, was the son of God. According to everybody who didn't like Jeremy Corbyn, which was the majority of the nation, he was the son of Satan.
Yeah. He was a little bit unelectable, wasn't he,
There
really?
was nothing in between.
No, there wasn't really. No, there wasn't.
Anyway, so Jeremy Corbyn, who lost a referendum,
Yep.
lost a general election,
Yep.
lost 3 local elections,
Yeah.
lost an European election in
Yep.
which his party only got 14% of the vote. What?
Well done.
And he lost another general election a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and just remind listeners that that was actually the worst defeat since 1935 for the Labour Party.
No,
Wasn't
no. It was the worst defeat if you want to look at it that way, but if you want to look at it in terms of results, it was the worst result ever.
Oh,
Because the 1935 election, actually, they gained seats from the previous election.
So they didn't gain any in 2019? They didn't gain any seats? I don't know that.
In 2019,
In 2019?
they
Labour?
lost loads of seats.
No, but did they not gain anything anywhere? I mean, you know.
Oh, right, around... No, but what I'm saying is 1931, when they had an election, Labour got X many seats. And
Right,
then
yeah,
in
I'm with you.
1935,
I'm with
they
you.
got a few more,
Yeah.
but they didn't get 200.
We
which they
can
got.
encapsulate all that by saying
So
that he
they-
was pretty piss poor.
Basically, the Conservatives have 160, more than 160, more seats than Labour now.
Yeah.
Because of Jeremy Corbyn.
So you attribute it all to Jeremy Corbyn? I mean,
Yes.
it can't all be Jeremy Corbyn because I've heard
And
that
his
it's
fans.
hang on, it's well, yeah, but it's Brexit.
No.
It's the complexities of Brexit.
What,
it's
you
the
mean
fact
that
they
thing that
didn't manage
80%
to
of his
articulate their
population-
policies particularly well. Great policies. He won the argument, Graham.
80% of Tory members, Labour members, didn't want Brexit.
Okay, so when I'll be devil's advocate here. When Jeremy Corbyn says, "But we won the argument," what's he thinking there? What's that all
He's
about?
not thinking, he's really thick.
Oh, okay.
He's really stupid.
Okay. Because of course the
He
measure
went-
of winning the argument would be picking up seats and winning an election, wouldn't it? Yeah.
He grew
yeah.
up in a manor house. He went to a private prep school. He left school with 2 E's at A level, which is the minimum you can get and still call it an A level.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
And then he dropped out of London North.
Oh, he did better than
North
that.
London Polytechnic. He dropped out, even after a private education. And then he surrounded himself in Labour with lots of people who were privately educated, like Andrew Murray, privately educated,
Yeah.
and part of the aristocracy, by the way.
Look.
Seamus Milne, privately educated.
Oh.
Andrew Fisher, privately educated. Jenny Formby, who's the head of the NEC, privately educated. What's the guy who's now the lead guy for Rebecca Long-Bailey, John Landsman, privately educated.
Okay.
They would not have got to the positions that they got to in public life had it not been for the fact that their parents were wealthy and they got to go to a school that would ensure that it's not what you know.
Yeah,
it's who you know.
Okay, we could spend the rest of this podcast now slagging off Labour, which would be really easy, and slagging off Jeremy Corbyn and all his allies. That'd be easy to do, but we want to focus on the positive, on the solutions, on how we put this mess right.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah.
So principally then, Graham, what would you identify now as now Jeremy Corbyn is going? We know that in a couple of weeks' time, a few months' time,
Eventually,
he's gone.
he's still hanging
unbelievable,
around,
isn't it? It's
like
great.
A fart in a spacesuit.
You turn on Prime Minister's questions, and he's there at the dispatch box as if butter wouldn't melt, as if nothing's happened.
Yeah, but he's thick. He's really thick.
It's really weird, though.
He's really stupid.
It's bizarre. I mean, at least
he's
Jo
a very
Swinson,
stupid man.
Jo Swinson, bless her, for all her faults, had the dignity to say, you know what, I screwed this up, I'm off. But not Jeremy.
She also lost her seat.
Well, she did.
To be fair.
Yeah, that's okay. And then
But had she not lost her seat, if she didn't stand down, I would be screaming on
I
social
know.
media. How dare she not stand down after the face of such
Maybe he thinks that these interim few months he's going to create an immediate legacy. He's going to package up a nice sort of happy meal of a legacy.
The legacy is that Tories are going to be in power for the next 5 years, possibly the next 10.
Okay.
Possibly if Rebecca Long-Bailey wins, the next 20.
Right, okay then. Okay, right, so let's identify the immediate short-term goals for the Labour Party to unscrew itself is going to be picking the right leader.
How does Labour unscrew itself?
Right, well, surely picking the right...
That's the name of this podcast.
It is. How does Labour unscrew itself? Picking the right leader. There's three on the table at the moment.
We've got Lisa Nandy. Let's just put her to one side.
Why?
Because she's
I quite like
she's
Lisa
a Leaver.
I know, but she comes across quite well.
She's from Wigan, so she's the bad wool.
She's from, what does that mean? What do you mean she's a bad wool?
If you're not from Liverpool, if you're from the surrounds of Liverpool, well, if you're from Birkenhead, you're a Plazzy Scouser. But if you're from anywhere else, you are a bad wool.
In Lisa's defence, I watched the debate. She made some brilliant points. And my worry is that Lisa is going to split the vote between us Remainers who want to go with Keir. Lisa's going to pick up a few votes. We can't have that happen, can we?
I think Rebecca Long-Bailey is going to win.
No, I'm being optimistic here, and I think that Keir Starmer's going to edge it because I think that it will cut through that he is the most electable forensic dismantler of Jeremy Corbyn, of Boris Johnson, he who should definitely not be named, that we've got. I can't see Rebecca Long-Bailey doing that. I can't see her doing it.
No, but Rebecca Long-Bailey is supported by the chumocracy.
Yeah, but
She's supported by the structure of the United Kingdom, the oligarchy of the United Kingdom. Because all the people around there and the people who wanted to win all went to private school.
Right, but this is about Labour unscrewing itself, and I have to tell you, if Rebecca Long-Bailey gets in, there's no point doing this podcast because that's 10, 15, 20 years of futile opposition for Labour.
What percentage of people in the country are privately educated?
I don't know that. You probably
7%.
Right.
What percentage of people who go to Durham University are privately educated?
Don't know.
37%.
Right. And your point is?
If you go to private school because your parents are rich, you're going to do well in life.
Right, okay.
Even if you don't end up going to a good university, even if you're Jeremy Corbyn, you'll do fine because you were privately educated and you get to know the right people.
Yeah.
You and I could never become advisors to the Labour Party or to the Liberal Democrats or to the Tories.
I don't know.
We could never do it.
They're looking for weirdos and misfits, Graham.
Who went to private school.
Oh, is that part of the criteria? Okay,
yes.
Look.
That one who left from Corbyn's lot.
Yeah.
Right? First of all, his dad is the accountant or financial manager for Unite, the union that dickhead, Scouse dickhead, what's his name? Len McCluskey. Right, Len McCluskey's that guy's dad, what's his name? Sablinski was it? Right?
Oh, the eugenics guy.
Yeah, the eugenics guy. Right? He was thrown out this week, or he left.
He had 5 minutes in the job.
After saying eugenics were possibly a good idea.
Yeah, and by the way, which the Tories haven't refuted. They won't stand up and say, do you know what? We absolutely condemn his views on eugenics and the fact that he's basically a Nazi. No comment. And also,
hang on, what was Jeremy Corbyn's comment on it?
I don't know. What was his comment on that?
I don't know what it was.
But also,
did he comment on it?
Weird, no comment on this view that black people may be less intelligent than white people. Number 10, no comment. I mean, wow, we are not living. This is the reality. We're not making this up. No comment.
But that kid went to where he's privately schooled with a mix of occasional going to private school. Do you know what I
Okay,
mean? It's
no,
homeschooled
I
and
get all
private
that. I get all that. Look, my view is, as Remainers, as pro-Europeans, as rejoiners, whatever we call ourselves, we've got to unite around one good candidate who can save Labour. I think it's Keir Starmer.
Well, it is Keir Starmer.
It is Keir Starmer. I'm optimistic in that he will win, because I'm really concerned that if he doesn't, then Labour will be a spent force for ever. So, yeah, listen, Andy, there's a lot to commend her for. I like a lot of what she said, but we've got to go for Keir Starmer. I love Jess Phillips in the deputy role. I love Jess Phillips. Yeah. This is a woman that doesn't filter what she says, that wears her heart on her sleeve, has 100% integrity, will, say what she thinks.
A woman who was a Remainer in a constituency that was 60% Leave and managed to get re-elected twice after the referendum.
That's all you need
and so when people go, oh, Labour didn't win because of Brexit, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Labour didn't win because Jeremy Corbyn is about as electable as a dead gerbil.
Yeah, the chocolate teapot of politics.
So let's join your fantasy, Ben.
It's not a fantasy.
Your crazed fantasy that Keir Starmer, a chap who went to grammar school and actually managed to, make a name for himself, despite being the son of a nurse and a filmmaker. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He did rather well for himself. He became the director of public prosecutions.
Yes.
And a very intelligent man. We don't like intelligent people in politics.
More importantly,
stupid people who are incompetent.
He's got that chiseled jaw look. He's got that Superman look. He looks like he's going to sweep in and save us. I don't think Rebecca Long. You call her Rebecca Wrong Daily, don't you?
Wrong Daily.
I call her Rebecca Long Stay in Opposition Bailey, because that is where Labour will be if that woman gets picked by Len McCluskey and Seamus Milne. No, I really hope not.
Let's go down your fantasy realms and pretend that Keir Starmer wins.
Yeah, okay, he's going to have to.
So if he does win, what does Labour have to do in order to win in 2024?
Now, this is the big thing. First of all, I don't think, even if Keir Starmer sweeps into power and takes command of that ship Labour, that they're going to be strong enough on their own to get anything like a majority in 2024.
No.
Because they've lost Scotland. They've lost Scotland. Now, at the moment, they've lost that lovely northern wall that the Tories have broken through temporarily.
Durham has 7.
Sedgefield.
Durham has 7 constituencies.
Blythe Valley.
7 constituencies that have been Labour since forever.
Yeah.
And in the last election, 4 of those constituencies went to the Conservatives.
Wow. Okay.
Now, like I said before, the Conservatives have over 160 more MPs than Labour.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's that.
That is a mountain to climb.
It's a mountain to climb.
But what would you give Jeremy Corbyn for his leadership?
Well, I believe, is it Rebecca Long Bailey gave him 10 out of 10?
That's why if Rebecca Long Bailey loses the election for leader of the Labour Party, I will be giving her 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Do you want that on the Kelvin scale or the Fahrenheit scale?
I will
don't
be
know where to
giving
begin.
her 11 out of 7.
Oh God! Look, can we forget Corbyn now, because he is at least the
No, he's still bloody leader.
I know he is.
I went really scoused then, didn't I?
You did. No, he's look. The one thing that is certain is that in a few weeks' time he's gone, so there will be a new leader. What Labour have got to do, in my view, and I hope I'm right about this, is they've got. And you spoke to me about this earlier. They've got to stop this nonsense written into their constitution of standing an MP, parliamentary candidate, in every single constituency in the country, no matter what, even if it is overwhelmingly likely that they've got to... I mean, Cheltenham's a good example. Cheltenham, I believe they had a guy called George Penny. He got 4,000 votes in 2019. He is responsible, and Corbyn is responsible, for the fact that the Lib Dem candidate there, Max Wilkinson, didn't get that seat. The Tory Alex Chalk retained it, because when you put the Lib Dem and the Labour vote together, yes, they exceeded the Tory vote. Now, because of Labour putting a candidate into a seat they have zero chance of ever winning,
they gave an extra seat to the
They gave
Tories.
a seat to the Tories.
Are they working for the Conservatives?
How does that work?
They might be.
How does that work?
Are you working for the Conservatives, Ben? Because I'm not.
This is what's got to change. The Constitution. Now, you know more about it than I do.
Well, yes,
so,
and it can change temporarily.
Yeah.
It can say, for the next election, we will suspend this part of our Constitution.
Yeah.
Because if they do that and they win, they will only win if they have a coalition agreement, a group agreement with the SNP, with Plaid Cymru, with the Lib Dems, and with the Greens. They all need to say, we will not stand our candidates against each other in any seats.
Yeah. You see, this is what gets me, because this is what the Lib Dems said they were doing in 2019. Oh, we've got this wonderful alliance with Plaid Cymru and the Greens. That's not enough. I mean, come on, seriously. The Greens were only ever going to win one seat anyway, Brighton. Stroud was looking a possibility. And then you've got Plaid in Wales. I mean, how many seats did they pick up? I don't know. Look, it's Labour. That's the key. If you're not working with Labour...
Yeah, but Labour can't, because Labour have got this constitution.
So, right.
Now, the problem is that Labour have been overrun with zealots and lunatics, and people ask, why did there was the guy on the radio this afternoon talking to Sheila Fogarty, and,
LBC,
and he was Andrew Fisher from Labour, privately educated, as I might have already mentioned. And every time she said something like, well, does the fact that everything, just gesticulate to everything, proves that Britain is conservative with a small c? And he went, no, I don't think so. I think that it's quite a radical country, actually. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. And then she said, do you think Jeremy Corbyn is responsible for Labour's loss? And he went, no. I think that it was because the Daily Mail and the Sun weren't very nice to us. And you're like, hang on, what? Weren't very nice to Jeremy Corbyn? I don't remember them going after his dead dad like they did with Ed Miliband. I don't remember them having a poster of him with the devil's eyes, which they did of Tony Blair in 1997. Do you remember that?
No.
Because I don't remember that. I never saw that bit. I must have not been paying attention. Oh, they said that he hung around with terrorists. He did? What do you want?
Look, okay. We're backtracking a little bit here. We're getting back into the problem, the Corbyn problem. We've got to focus more on the solution to that problem.
What the solution is?
The solution.
One of the solutions has got to be get rid of the ginger groups.
Okay, the ginger groups. Just explain the ginger groups to those who aren't
A ginger
familiar.
group is a small part of a political party that seeks to radicalise and invigorate the main party. So the ERG is a ginger group. Momentum is a ginger group.
The Corbynistas.
Yeah, well, that's his momentum.
Yeah,
momentum
exactly.
is just a little cult that follows
okay.
Corbyn around going, oh my God, you're the most amazing person
No,
ever.
you know what? Okay, linked to that completely. Somebody, I did a poll a few days ago on Twitter. Who won the Labour leadership debate that Christian Gurumurthy held on Channel 4? And obviously, Keir Starmer came out with about 70%. The other two, Lisa and Rebecca, got about 15% each. Someone posted underneath that, you want to watch out for Keir Starmer. He's a centrist in disguise. And I said underneath, I bloody hope so. And I hope it's a really bad disguise, because if Labour don't unite around the centre of that party, they haven't got... The last 8 years has taught us, if you go too far to the left, you're unelectable. And that's what Labour did wrong. They focused entirely on two strata aspects of society. Those at the very top being bad, the 0.01%, the multi-billionaires, very, very naughty, the offshore tax havens, the Barclay brothers, Rupert Murdoch.
Advisors to the Labour Party.
Yeah, probably. So they're bad. Oh, and also, the other side of society, if you're not them, you must be limping to a food bank every night, struggling to make ends meet, and they conflated that with working class. Now, the majority of the working class are not struggling, so much so that they have to limp to a food bank every night, that they're on benefits, they're on universal credit. It's tragic that people are in that position, but the problem was...
It was very patronising and condescending,
utterly ignored...
To hear a millionaire
the
like Jeremy Corbyn go,
95% of people who were not either in the 0.1% multi-billionaire tax evading elite, or those struggling so much so they had to go to food banks. They ignored everybody else. So I bloody well hope that the next leader of the Labour Party is a centrist. Yes, like Tony Blair, who can unite that party and get it into power.
I took issue with the slogan for the many, not for the few, because it was like, well, that says screw minorities, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Mob rule. Yeah. But also, at the same time, you're right. They weren't for the many. They were for the few.
Totally.
The people who are at the very bottom of society who they thought they could help. And it was like, actually, you could help them by winning an election.
Yes.
That would help them massively more than your what do they say when people die in America in a massacre? They say we're sending our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
That's what Labour is now. It's a thoughts and prayers party.
Yeah.
Party that doesn't actually do anything. It just sends thoughts and prayers.
No, I know. And the problem for me was there was a tweet from Diane Abbott that conflated the working class. She used these three words in one tweet. And someone said to me, because she used commas between each of these categories, that she was separating them out. No, she wasn't. She called Labour the party of the working class, the oppressed, and the poor. Now, if you're working class and working hard to make ends meet, and you're working every hour God sends, you've got kids to feed, your wife's doing the same, your partner's doing the same, you are not necessarily so poor that you have to attend a food bank every night just to survive. And it's that insult to the majority of the working class, the lower middle class, who are doing just that. Nurses, doctors, policemen just starting out in their career. Where do I fit into this?
Hang on, I've got something to back up that though.
What's that?
Because nothing says we care about the people going to food banks and the poor and the people on the streets like a load of Labour activists waving the flags of another country halfway around the world at the Labour Party conference.
Oh, which country would that be?
That was Palestine.
Ah, yeah, that's another issue, isn't it? I was saying to you before we went on air, let's focus on the issues that matter to Labour voters and people in this country. No offence to people of, Israelis and Palestinians, but I'm not sure that particular issue is number one priority for Mr. and Mrs. John Q taxpayer in Hull. Is that really the Palestinian-Israeli issue?
Well,
is that top of their pile?
It reminds me of when
I don't know.
I ran for General Secretary of Manchester Student Union when I was there. I always remember I just worked at the bar, and at the time I wasn't a member of any political party. And I would come up before the lectures. You'd run up to the front before the lecture started and start going, vote for me. And I'd say, hey, my name's Graham. I work at the bar, and I want to make things better for students. And I want to improve the street lighting on Oxford Road. I want to make sure that everyone knows there's a safety bus that you can call up at any time, day or night, and it'll come and get you from anywhere in Manchester. So that was my sort of spiel. And then I'll go, and then the next person will come up and go, vote for me. I'm going to sort out NATO aggression in the South Balkans. And I was like, no, you're not. You're going to be running a bar and a little stationery shop.
You know what? Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Oh no, I'm going to win self-determination for the South Moldavian people.
I know. Some of these are admirable causes, and don't get me wrong.
They are.
The issue of whether Palestinians should have a state and a place to call home, and Israeli, and all those different things, they're important. But I'm just not sure that that's the number one priority of the average person living in this country.
Whether they're using food banks, whether they're on the streets, or whether they're an executive of a multi-millionaire.
The other big massive elephant in the room here, as far as Labour's concerned, is anti-Semitism.
Are you calling me an elephant?
No, the elephant in the room.
Oh, you're pointing at me.
That has been constantly thrown at this party to smear it in every possible way by the 80% owned right-wing media is anti-Semitism. Let's forget the Islamophobia within the Tory party. Oh, it's all anti-Semitism, Labour. Now,
because Labour is anti-Semitic.
Right. So the new leader...
It's being investigated by the Equalities and Human Rights Commission.
Isn't that they're the people that investigate the BNP?
Yes.
Right, that's weird, isn't it? So the Labour Party, the party of the people, the many, not the few, is being investigated by the same people that investigated
not the Jew.
BNP. Oh, yeah, exactly. My goodness, the new leader's got a hell of a job to do.
Yeah, because they have to make sure that all the anti-Semites are got rid of. But actually, that's a bit of a gift for the next leader if it is Keir Starmer, because he can get rid of all the ginger groups, he can get rid of momentum and all the lunatics by going,
can he?
We have to do this. We'd love to keep you, all you small-minded, bigoted racists.
Okay.
We've got to get rid of you because the Equalities and Human Rights Commission says
let's talk about funding
you can't
then.
stay as members of our party anymore.
We know that the Tories are funded from Russia, okay? I think 3 days before Boris Johnson put the brakes on the release of that Russia report, the Tory party received £200,000 from the wife of an ex-minister under Putin. So we know where their money's coming from, but the reality is a lot of the money that Labour receives comes from the unions. Russia? Okay, Labour. Len McCluskey.
Russian.
And the problem is, look, if Keir Starmer sweeps in and he says no to momentum...
but he's actually Russian.
What, Len McCluskey?
If you watch the TV show
what are you on about
Chernobyl,
now?
You'll know that people from Russia can sometimes sound scouse.
Yeah, okay. We haven't slipped into a parallel reality. He's had more than me to drink. That might explain it. Look, the problem is funding. The Labour Party can't exist without funding. They've got nowhere near the resources of the Tory Party. They're pretty much at the...
spaffed it all up the wall on nonsense.
Who have?
The Labour Party.
Right, but where are they going to get the money from if not from the unions
From
and
members.
then McCluskey? From members.
They've got one of the largest
they're the
memberships
biggest.
of any political party in Europe.
You're right. They're the biggest party in
Yeah.
Europe. The biggest party in Europe. Yeah, you're right. You're right. To charge the members more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Keir Starmer
No,
gets
but why
in.
do they have to be beholden to the unions?
No, I know
When you have
that,
someone
I
like
know,
Lib
I know, I know,
Dems,
I know.
who is an unelected bureaucrat.
Yeah.
Well, he's elected by Unite, but he's not elected by the wider electorate. I mean, the unelected elite have so much
Yeah.
say. And then because I'll give him his due, he's not privately educated. So that's the only one good thing I can say about that man. But
Okay.
otherwise, he's an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
And he is an embarrassment to my city, my country, and possibly the entire human race. But yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
But he works for the union. He's the leader of the Unite Union, which also has the guy who said that eugenics was good for the Tories as dad doing the finances.
In your view, Graham, does the new leader of Labour need to be demonstrably and really explicitly pro-European
Yes.
to combat what the Tories are doing?
Yes.
Because let's look at what the Tories are doing at the moment. I mean, this very week, Priti Patel comes out with her points-based immigration system. Now, let's just take the 70 points that you need to be worthy of coming to this country as the brightest and the best. That's who we want to attract, the brightest and the best. Now,
Why?
let's say you're an Italian biochemist, you've just got your degree, you're at the start of your career, you have literally got 27 countries you can choose to work in where your human rights are protected, workers' rights are protected. Your girlfriend, partner, boyfriend, husband, wife, children, grandparents' rights are protected. You can go and work and live in any of those countries.
And they
retire
come
there.
live with you.
Or you can come to the UK where you have to get 70 points and all those other things. Can your
And you
girlfriend
could
come
be
here?
deported at any time.
Can your girlfriend come? Can your boyfriend
and
come?
you can be
Can your
deported
granny
at any
come?
time.
What happens if you get your job in biochemistry at a really fantastic company and 6 months down the line you're made redundant? Do you then, after you bought a home or got into a very complicated rental agreement, have to just leave because you're deported?
Yes.
I mean, why should anybody, this is my question, Graham, with this point system, why should anybody at the start or middle of their career pick the UK as a safe bet when they've got 27 other countries they can just go to where all their rights are guaranteed in law?
But all of this is because the lower earners, who apparently are low skilled for some reason.
Or what, under £26,000?
Yeah,
under
they're
£26,000.
low skilled, so we're low skilled people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a degree. You got a degree. Have you got a degree?
Yes.
Have you really? What's it in?
History and politics.
Hey, I got English and drama.
From Manchester University.
But I don't earn enough to qualify.
I've also been to every country in the world without flying, and no one else has ever done that.
Wow.
I might mention it now and again.
I didn't know that. I did know that. Okay.
You did know that, but
the point is, we don't.
It's hard to impress
we don't
people these
qualify.
days, really,
We're
isn't
not
it?
good enough, and this is
wish
great, isn't
I
it?
had a BMW.
Priti Patel's own. Is it own parents or mother or father?
Yeah, her parents wouldn't have been allowed
She's
into
had
the
to
country
admit that her own
under
parents,
those rules.
So she wouldn't even exist.
But
Priti
to bring
Patel
this
wouldn't
back
be a thing.
To bring this back to Labour and he who must not be named.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
The idea that under a certain bracket of earnings, you are taking the jobs of British people. You are undermining the wages of British people, even though we have a minimum wage in this country.
Yeah.
And if you want to stop people undermining the minimum wage legally, put the minimum wage up. It's not rocket science.
No.
But that lie, that pernicious lie of the Conservatives was repeated by Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah. But you know what though? Yeah.
Fucking rat man.
Okay. Priti's got it sorted. There's 8.5 economically inactive people, 8.5 million economically inactive people in this country. Apparently,
Economically inactive.
yeah, the 8.5 million economically inactive, which let's break it down, includes students, the disabled, the people who've got mental illnesses who cannot possibly work. Oh, the retired.
Are they in the 8 million?
They're in the 8.5 million. Apparently, Priti's idea is that these people will take up the slack when no one wants to come to this country to pick fruit, to care for our elderly, to work in social care. Those 8.5 million students, retired, people on long-term sickness will be able to do those jobs. That's the thinking of the woman that wants to, take action against counter-terrorist offenders. Counter-terrorist offenders. Which, as Michael Spicer correctly pointed out, isn't even a thing. This woman is thick as mince.
My point was that if Jeremy Corbyn had won the election...
Oh, we're back to Corbyn.
We'll probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, we would.
Because he wanted to protect these fictional miners of Durham that he has in his head.
Yeah.
And the steel workers of Sheffield. He wanted to protect them against foreigners coming over here and stealing their jobs.
Look, the bottom line here is that the level to which you think there needs to be a solution to this problem is linked very closely to how much you see this as a problem. At the moment, we have a Conservative government evading scrutiny on every level via the media, via Parliament. I mean, we're briefing. Number 10 are briefing against cabinet ministers doing any kind of interview. They run a mile from them because they don't want to sit there and squirm when their policies are dissected by someone like Andrew Neil who can see through the BS. Now, this is where we're at. Now, unless Labour accept the reality, which is in 4 years' time, they are not going to be able to form a majority government, they have got to work with the Greens, with Plaid, with the SNP, with Sinn Féin. They've got to work with all these other parties to form a united, cohesive front against the government.
They are obviously still in denial. You have people going on the radio today to say it wasn't the fault of Jeremy Corbyn that they lost the election.
Right. So if you're thinking out there of voting, seriously, for Rebecca Long-Bailey, she believes that Jeremy Corbyn gets a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. He did nothing wrong. So the fact that Labour haven't been in power for the last, 10 years, and he's been so when did he take control of that
2015.
party? 2015, right. So 5 years.
Two general
elections, European elections, local council elections, absolute wipeout.
And a referendum.
He's done nothing wrong. She's the clue should be in that phrase. She's the continuity candidate. Continuity of what? Continuity of where the Labour have been for the last 5 years.
Hopes and prayers.
Utter failure.
But this is the thing. Like, so many people in the UK.
I know Remainers who are thinking of voting for Rebecca.
They look over to the US and see a gun massacre happen, and they say, "Thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers," and they're like, that's just ridiculous. How is that a policy? The policy of Labour always being in opposition, and it's ridiculous. And it's that thing of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yes.
Just let a guy who will be looked at by the middle ground as electable be the leader, and then you might get elected. But honestly, it takes someone extraordinary for someone to get elected from the left. It really does.
Well, I mean, look at America at the moment. You've got Joe Biden and you've got Bernie Sanders. Now, Bernie Sanders is, I suppose, the closest you're going to get in America to Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes.
This is a guy.
He's got vicious cult people around him who go nuts at you if you say anything negative about the Democrats
pick him as their candidate, he isn't going. I mean, he's not going to win anyway. Trump's got this one sewn up because of the failed coup on him. He's got his base now. They're rabid. They've got
Trump's going to win the election.
Of course he's going to win. He's got 4 more years. But the point being that someone from the far left in America, which is a very conservative, evangelical Christian country, very right wing, is not going to go for a far left.
Not very Christian, though, is it?
Well, I use Christian in the terms of the fact that
they make all the porn, take all the drugs, have all the guns, and they vote for Trump.
Yeah.
That's about as not Christian as you can possibly get. If Jesus came back and unfortunately found himself in Mississippi or Louisiana, they will nail him to a tree.
It's ideology versus pragmatism. Keir Starmer, in my view, will unite the Labour Party and get them elected.
Maybe.
A word to the wise
here. He won't get them elected.
Well, he will.
He'd be more likely to do an alliance with the other groups.
Yes, he's
the other political parties on the left.
Yes.
In order for them to form a coalition in 2024. In order to do one thing, and it's not rejoin the EU. All right. it is to bring in proportional representation for the United Kingdom.
Absolutely.
Because then, yes, Labour, you can have a candidate in every constituency.
Do you know what?
It won't matter.
I'm glad you mentioned proportional representation.
Bring it in. Just that one election, guys. Just that one election.
Not just the one. I mean, proportional representation. I think I'm right in saying that of all the countries in the EU, we are one of only 2 that doesn't use proportional representation. I think it's Latvia. It's irrelevant. The point is, it took 800...
Latvia is not irrelevant.
No, Latvia is not irrelevant.
Place.
Look, in the last election, 864,000 people needed to vote Green to get 1 MP in Brighton. Now that means everyone outside of Brighton who voted Green, for the right reasons, you may as well not have bothered turning up because you're not represented. 864,000 of you. Now get this, it only took 38,000 people to vote Tory to get 1 MP. That is so wrong and so little understood that the majority of people are not represented in this country.
There was a guy at the Grassroots for Europe conference last month.
Yeah.
And he was a Labour Labour guy, sorry. Didn't mean to say the word twonk, but he was a twonk. He was the Labour for reforming the electoral system.
Yeah.
And instead of thinking of clever ways of actually making it happen, like getting rid of that part of the Constitution say they have to put a candidate in every constituency, because I challenged him on that. He said, no, we don't need to do that. We just need to get more people to say that they want proportional representation. Now, I made this point in the last podcast.
Yeah.
Newsflash, people. Most people don't care about politics.
No.
The vast majority of people don't care about politics in the same way that the vast majority of people don't care about your favourite video game and probably don't care about about football. A lot of people don't care about football. They just see it on the TV and they're like, I don't care about this. But if you really, really care about football, it's very hard to see how anyone could not care about football.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with politics. So realistically, you've got a population 66% maximum actually care about politics, and you see this in elections all the time. And there's this fake idea in people's heads, not fake, but wrong idea in people's heads, that if we made everybody vote, they'll all vote the way that I want them to. That's not true. Look at Australia, where it is illegal not to vote. You have to vote in every election, and the Conservatives still win. All the time. Okay, the people who don't vote don't care either way, so it doesn't really make any much of a difference.
Like I said earlier, it's about how much you are affected by the reality.
Of that 66% who care, about 10% care about the electoral system.
In the last election,
you're not going to win by winning people's hearts and minds on this.
No.
It's boring, it's tedious, we don't care, we've got our lives to be getting on with. It has to be something that is brought in as a policy, in a manifesto of a party in an election.
Because otherwise, this is what we end up with, which is where we are right now. 29% of the electorate voted Tory. That means 71% of the electorate, far higher proportion of the population, didn't vote for the party that wants to get Brexit done. They voted for the parties that wanted a final say on a referendum on the EU membership, that want proportional representation, that want all this, sort of collegiate kind of working together politics in the House of Commons. Only 29% voted Tory. That 29% of people that were convinced to vote Tory gave them an 80-seat majority because of first past the post, which means that they're ripping the rights away of everybody that lives in this country to live and work, retire, marry, love, and do anything they want to do in the European Union. If you think that's right, and if you don't care about whether or not that's right or wrong, there's something wrong with you, and you need to wake up to that. And we've got to wake up as a country to that. There's a reason that every other country in the European Union uses a form of PR, proportional representation. We don't. 80% of our media is controlled by the right-wing press, all of whom live offshore, don't pay enough tax, and rake a fortune in, and it's in their interest the Tories stay where they are. So we've got a huge uphill battle here to get proportional representation. So we need a Labour leader that's totally behind that.
The vast majority of leaders and advisors to the leaders of all our political parties are people who went to private school.
We are in one hell of a mess.
We live in a chumocracy. I want to live in a democracy.
So do I.
And when people come up to me and go, "Oh, you're a Remainer, you don't respect democracy," I'm like, what? We live in a country where we have a House of Lords and a Queen, for God's sake. What are you talking about? That twat, what's his name? Zach Goldsmith and Nicky Morgan.
Nicky Morgan.
Both lost their election.
Yeah.
But they're in the cabinet.
I know.
How does that happen? Well, you promote them to the House of Lords, and then you say, "Hey,
And
join
this is
the
great,
cabinet."
because the
And then
argument-
if they fuck up, you can't turn around and say, "Oh, I don't want you to be my elected representative anymore,"
No.
because they're not elected.
The one argument,
Yay, democracy.
the one argument that people still banging the drum for Brexit think they've got in their arsenal is this sovereignty issue of the fact that we're not now going to be ruled by unelected bureaucrats in Brussels. Newsflash, and I know I sound like Ron Burgundy. The most powerful man in this country at the moment is Dominic Cummings, an unelected bureaucrat paid a fortune who thinks he's playing a computer game.
Went
where
to
his
private school.
only job is to win it. He has no morals, no principles, no scruples, no compass at all. He just knows he's been employed to win this game. And his MO at the moment is to tell everybody in Parliament, in Cabinet, to evade and avoid any kind of scrutiny from the media, from Parliament, from anybody at all. Page 48 of the election, the manifesto, the Tory manifesto from 2019, should send shivers down the spine of everybody in this country, because it actually means that what the Tories are going to do over the next few months is whittle away the power of the judiciary in this country to stand up for your human rights as an individual with a say and a stake in this country. That's what they're going to do. And that means if you're a domestic abuse victim in this country, you will have less recourse, less means to get justice, because what Boris Johnson wants to do is actually reduce the power of our judiciary. It matters, and this is what gets me. People don't know the truth because the BBC is now terrified of losing its licence fee. They won't tell you. They won't tell you.
Privatised.
They won't tell you. Channel 4 are scared. After the ice sculpture incident at the leaders' debate, Michael Gove and a few, I think it was Max Wilkinson, no, it wasn't Max Wilkinson, it was Gavin Williamson, made it very clear that the government would review Channel 4's licence to broadcast. And I've noticed, and you may have noticed this too, in their reporting recently, they've been a lot less strident and a lot less sort of, this is wrong, we're not happy about this. It's not that it's pro-Tory like the BBC. I mean, you've got Laura Kuenssberg, my God.
But privately educated.
Yeah, and the other reporter on the BBC, who just the week before the election said, quote, "If Boris Johnson gets the majority that he so deserves." Wow. How, in any stretch of the imagination, is that impartial news reporting? But
She went to private school.
It bypassed us.
Like Jenny Formby.
It just happened.
The head of the NEC.
Oh, God.
Of Labour.
Do you know what? The other thing I was thinking about,
Private
and linked
school.
to this, in terms of us...
Private school friend.
Yes, private school. I get the feeling that my colleague here is really down on Jeremy Corbyn and private schools.
Yes.
Yes.
I am
Right,
sick
good,
and tired
good,
of
good.
living in a chumocracy.
Yes,
and the only way
chumocracy.
that Labour is going to get itself out of the mess that it has dug itself into is by a revolution. And I don't mean a revolution of the country, because that's not going to happen under Labour at the moment. They need a revolution amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Root and stem reform of Labour, and the way it thinks, the way it operates, the nastiness that has gone on in Labour, the way that they have gone out of their way to repel anyone who wanted to stay in the EU, anyone who, I don't know, wasn't anti-Semitic.
They've lost the brightest and best. Chukwuemeka, Luciana Berger, driven out of the party. I mean,
well, Chukwuemeka wasn't ousted from the party, but Luciana Berger was.
Yes,
and she was ousted from the party for being Jewish. And that is an absolute disgrace from the party that's supposed to be the party of equality and human rights, and not picking on random minorities for the abuses and illegalities of a foreign government that they have no control and no say over.
The counter-argument to this I'm hearing from a lot of people is Jeremy Corbyn is the least racist white man in Parliament.
Oh,
now,
for God's sake.
Hang on, listen. Who was it? The former mayor of London. That
Boris Johnson.
Not Boris Johnson. The other former mayor of London. That Ken Livingstone. That made several comments, a number of comments that were absolutely, evidentially, and clear-cut anti-Semitic, pro-Nazi comments. He was only suspended.
Yes.
He wasn't for goodness sake, as the leader of that party, when someone makes comments that are absolutely, categorically racist, you don't suspend them under investigation, chuck them out.
Yep.
Jeremy Corbyn could have done that.
Yep.
Why on earth would he choose to play, let's be cautious, let's just have an investigation?
Jeremy Corbyn's a massive anti-Semite.
My goodness.
And people go, he protested against apartheid in the 80s. Yep. So did Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon 2. In fact, Mel Gibson did the voice for John Smith in Pocahontas. Right? He's all for Native American rights, he's all for black South African rights, but when it comes to Jews, he'll stumble out of his car, drunk, and say that Jews caused all the wars of the world. Because he's an anti-Semite. And it's possible to be racist against one group and not be racist against other groups.
I know.
And vice versa.
And let's just remember, the excuse, but he was a bit tipsy, he was a bit drunk. People say what they really think when they're drunk. People actually reveal what's underneath that shell.
He was also driving at the time.
And was also driving at the time. Okay.
Good old Mel.
Thanks, great, fantastic. Braveheart.
Favourite celebrity racist.
Just to interject, I saw a warning on your screen.
That's okay.
I don't know what it was.
It was warning that we were just making too much sense, Ben.
Oh, okay. I thought it might be.
Talking too much bloody common sense. So, new leader gets in. If it's Rebecca Long Bailey, game over. I'll probably just retire.
Seriously.
I'll run away to Panama and you'll never see me again.
Yeah.
Some people might like that and actually vote for Rebecca Long Bailey because I just said that. That's a lie. I won't do that. I'll make even more podcasts and put out more tweets.
Okay, here's another reason. There was an interview she did not too long ago, which she revealed we need to stop labelling ourselves as socialists or Corbynists, and then went on to describe herself within the same 30 seconds of the interview as a socialist. Labelling is. Oh, please. Don't vote for Rebecca Long Bailey. Don't vote for Lisa Nandy, even though she came across quite nicely in the debate. Keir Starmer is a centrist.
Well,
yes,
he
he's a
could
pragmatist.
possibly win enough seats.
He could possibly win enough
Labour,
seats.
in coalition with the SNP.
More importantly, he will work with the other parties. Because he's not far left, he's not far anything. I don't know what more to say.
He might not be, actually. He might turn out to be terrible, but of the three that we're presented with, he is obviously the best. So if he does win, what Labour needs to do, ban the ginger groups. You can have specialist groups on fishing and farming and whatever within Labour, the environment, but when it comes to just having a group for the sake of having a group to worship, hero worship, some dickhead from a private school like Jeremy Corbyn, and say that he's wonderful and then alienate everyone who doesn't think he's wonderful by telling them to fuck off and join the Tories. Top tip, don't do that. That's not going to win. Secondly, they've got to stop slagging off Tony Blair.
I know, do you know what? At that Labour's debate, they were all asked at the end, who was the best Labour leader of the last 50 years? And of course, I was sitting there watching with a friend, James, and we both was obviously, it's the one that won the most elections, 3 in a row perhaps.
The only elections.
The only elections. And it's unmentionable now. And they come out with Clement Attlee. In fact, one of them, I think it was Lisa Nandy, even suggested that Barbara Castle was the best Labour leader who should have been of the last 50 years.
Minister.
It was getting so lame. Of course it's blooming Tony Blair.
But the point is that if you turn up at someone's house, knock on the door and say, hi, the last time we were in government it was a bit shit, vote for us. Do I have to explain to you why that might not work? Just embrace.
The leader of the Labour Party has got to be electable. That means the majority of the country has got to look at that person and say they can take on the powers that be, i.e. Boris Johnson. I don't think Lisa Nandy and I don't think that Rebecca Long Bailey will be capable of doing that because Boris Johnson is a misogynist. He will exploit the fact that he's got a woman opposite him who he can ridicule and denigrate and belittle, and it will all become about that. This is where this guy is. Keir Starmer will forensically dissect everything that Boris Johnson does.
I hope so.
I know he will.
I hope so.
I know he will.
I've had all my optimism.
Amoeba on Saturn
all my
forensically dissect everything that Boris Johnson does, because everything Boris Johnson does is just, whoa. I mean, look at the cabinet, the brightest and the best. We want the brightest and the best. Look at the cabinet.
One thing that Keir Starmer said, which is going to be my third thing, is he said he's going to take on the anti-Semitism in the Labour Party,
Right.
and get rid of it,
Right.
and he'll take that on as his personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Please do that and make Labour electable to Jewish people, because if you do that, then you make Labour electable to people like me who aren't Jewish but think that you should be nice to all minorities, whether they are Jewish, Muslim, black, Hindu, homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, whatever. We should just treat them all with respect, because that's the way society needs to function in order for society to function.
And be realistic, because it's an uphill battle which Labour can't win on its own.
No.
There is no way, even if Super Keir Starmer comes in...
Be realistic.
You've got to be realistic, absolutely. Unless Labour are prepared to work 100% with the other opposition parties and form a temporary coalition against the Tory party that are currently in power, there is no way in 2024 things are going to change.
But need to change the constitution.
Absolutely. No, that's completely true.
And number 5, I think they have to shit on Corbyn. Honestly, they have to distance themselves from that man as far as they possibly can and say, we are not continuity Corbyn, we are not part of the Corbyn experiment, the Corbyn plan, we're not going there. We're doing something very different. This is new Labour.
new Labour.
The newest Labour that you could possibly imagine.
I know.
We're going to be the Labour for you.
Yeah.
Watching this,
Absolutely.
and for me, and for Ben, and for the Jewish people of the United Kingdom, and for the European citizens of the United Kingdom, and get behind
Yeah.
the huge amount of people who hate Boris Johnson, and don't just rely on him messing up in order to win.
71% of the electorate didn't vote for Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, and that means an even higher percentage of the population do not want that man in charge of government.
Which brings me on to my last point.
What's that?
Baby.
Your last point.
Embrace the million.
Right.
1 million people marched in London against leaving.
Yeah, that's what struck me as
European
fascinating. Whenever we got together, we didn't break any laws, no one got arrested, there were millions of us. When the Leavers called upon the most zealous and passionate of their crew to represent them in any kind of march or rally, you get a couple of dozen people wandering about lost in a field near Sunderland, you know,
Arrests.
unbelievable. I can't get my head around that. 1 million people on the streets of London
Versus a few
versus
dozen.
70 people wandering about lost in a field.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you
so,
go.
Labour,
there's your measurable-
embrace those million people.
Yeah, we're
because
with you.
they're not just a million voters, they're a million activists.
Yeah.
There are a million people who are prepared to get off their arse and go to bloody London and march. That means that you've got a million people there on your doorstep who are willing to go and knock on people's doorsteps to say vote for Labour if you want them. Or you can continue to court the votes of racists who are already voting for the Brexit Party or the Tories.
Absolutely.
And I don't know about you, Ben, but over the last few years I've learned a thing or two, and one of the things is you can't teach an old dog new tricks, in that I don't think that I have persuaded a single person who wanted to leave the EU that it was a bad idea.
No, I don't think I have.
Not a single one. And that is not just making YouTube videos like this, but also doing one-to-one, sitting down with them and saying, hey, this thing is going to be really bad. This is what's going to happen. Why don't we have a bright, glorious future with our friends and neighbours in the EU?
Yeah.
I've never got through to anyone. Changing people's minds is very difficult.
Incredibly.
So don't waste your time and effort and resources, and more importantly money, trying to change people's minds. Whether that's people's vote trying to change Jeremy Corbyn's mind, or whether it's Jeremy Corbyn trying to change the mind of the nation.
We've had 4 years of attempting to do that, and we've had some success, but everybody we're going to win over to our side of the argument, to the
is on our side.
We've got them already. Those remaining ours who I've got nothing but the utmost respect for, we've got them all. It's been 4 years. Anyone still banging the drum for Brexit now is a lost cause. Forget them. They're brainwashed. They're either a little bit racist, a little bit stupid, or a profiteer of Brexit, or a combination of any or all of the above. They're dead weights. We aren't going to get any more of them on our side. But we have enough on our side already for Labour to coalesce around those.
Yep.
And to use
a million activists.
A million activists.
All of them only need to
71% of the electorate.
But the million activists only need to get 10 people on side.
Yeah.
Not to change their mind,
Yeah.
just to get them to go out and vote. And this is something that I don't know if politicians and their stupid advisors who all went to private school but are stupid get through their thick skulls.
Yeah.
Winning elections is not about changing people's minds. There aren't 65 million floating voters who are just I can't decide which way I'm going to vote. And then they get to the paper and then they decide there and then. How you win an election is by getting your side to turn out. That is it.
And in countries like Germany, where coalition isn't a dirty word, and every other country that uses proportional representation, that's how you do it. Okay, we're not going to change. He's completely right. We're not going to change people's minds on these sort of incremental side issues. Although every one of those 71% of the electorate that didn't vote Tory would have been happy for a people's vote to take place and give us a second chance, a final say on the EU referendum issue. Those 71% are united around that one most important issue, and unless the new leader of Labour understands that and harnesses that and owns that and empowers that, then they are dead. It's not going to happen. And only Keir Starmer has demonstrated to me through what he's said, what he's done, that he's capable of doing that. So please don't vote for Lisa Nandy. As nice as she comes across, as sensible and pragmatic and as evidence-based as some of her reasoning is, you've got to get behind one guy, one person.
So our first step, vote for Keir Starmer.
Get the right leader.
In the last few videos, I've been saying join Labour, so you can vote for Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
That window is closed.
Yeah.
If you joined, great. Please vote for Keir Starmer, and then hopefully we can take these next steps.
Yes, absolutely.
Towards getting Labour re-elected with the Liberal Democrats.
Yeah.
With the Liberal Democrats and with the SNP.
Yeah.
Which we
with
need
the
to come on
Greens
to
and with
possibly in another
Plaid.
podcast with the Greens and with Plaid.
Yeah.
And we need to get them in an electoral coalition just for this one-off, guys. Just put your egos in the back seat just for one freaking moment in time, because
that's what should have happened in 2019.
We need to be doing something about the environment. This is all of the massive distraction. It's a weapon of mass distraction.
Brexit is exactly 4 years of this. We've sucked the life out of politics.
And we've got another 10 years.
Exactly. Can we really afford to spend 10 years
more fun
in this mess of Brexit quagmire when we've got climate change that has to be dealt with well before 10 years is up? What are we doing wasting our time on this ridiculous problem that isn't there? The problem isn't there. You know?
And Labour can't do anything now for the next 4 years on a national level as a government, because it's not in government. It can't have any say or persuasion in Parliament. All it can do is stand up and offer its thoughts and prayers. However, Labour can change itself into an electable force, and that's what it needs to do. And that starts with, I don't know, a bit of reflection, which is what Jeremy Corbyn said after losing the election. He went, we're going to have a period of reflection. And all I say to that is, vampires have no reflection. Get rid of them. Get rid of the toxic assets of the Labour Party as soon as possible, because they are not doing you any favours by telling everyone who doesn't agree with them on every freaking point about every little minutiae of policy detail to fuck off and join the Tories, because that's not the way you win an election.
I think we've covered it. I think we've covered everything.
You've got to get your base out.
Where's your drink?
I've drank it. It got taken away by my...
There you go. An empty glass.
Empty glass.
To the EU.
To the EU.
Pro-Europeans forever.
Cheers, Ben.